And now, Giant Sports Talk Live. Here are your hosts, Eric and Glenn.
All right. Welcome, everyone. This Sunday afternoon, we got a special surprise for you. Again, welcome to Giant Sports Talk Live. Giants lose 4-3. They made it kind of close there at the end, but hey, it is what it is. We'll get more in depth in that a little bit later. But Glenn, we got a special guest today, right?
That's right. Coming up on the show tonight, we will spend an hour. We'll deep dive into the San Francisco Giants Mariners. We lose the series, and we'll find out what's going on with our pitcher. He didn't last long today. Robbie Ray made his return to Seattle, but he was pulled from that game. And as Eric just mentioned, Mariners win the series by winning today's game. We're very fortunate, Eric. We have a special guest in the green room ready to jump on. And boy, there is a lot to talk about. Talk about a major league career that has spanned the globe. This guy holds major league records. I don't think he's talked enough in the annals of baseball history. He's been a broadcaster, a coach, a player, a successful player, international player, an Olympian. And we've got him coming up next, Eric.
Absolutely. All right, let's get right into it, guys.
And now, another special guest appearance on Giant Sports Talk Live.
God, I love that music. Take me out to the ball game. Well, it's a Sunday. We've got Matt Stairs jumping on the show. Matt, we were previewing you, joining us all week. Glad to have you, buddy.
No, it's good to be here, man. It's been quite a while, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I tell you, you're no stranger to the world of baseball. And, my research this week, I saw how much work you did in the media. You worked for Nesson. You worked for the Phillies in the broadcast booth. But let's just start at the beginning for the folks who are joining us. And they're saying, maybe there's some young guys out there. And I know there's a lot of them in our chat today who will learn a lot about your career. But I used to spend a lot of time across the bridge from Fredericton over in Marysville, watching a lot of ball up on the hill there. That's where you got your start. Tell us about that, and playing in Marysville, New Brunswick, and how were you found? How were you scouted?
Well, I think like everyone around, you go through the minor league system through your hometowns, right? And the Fredericton Minor League Baseball Association, FMBA, has been tremendous to me. I still coach with those guys now for 4 years, so it's just one of those things where you played baseball is for a part time. I mean, really, we played 20 games a year, and then we couldn't wait to get the skates back on. It was just something that I had a chance to go ahead and play, and I did well when I was younger. I jumped a year up from the midget U18 program to the senior program when I was 17 and 18. They allowed me to do that, and I just ended up playing there. And one thing led to another. I ended up going out to Vancouver. To the National Baseball Institute out there. No home games, all road games, which was kind of tough, but we enjoyed it. And then it just kind of fell in place where I was asked to go to the Cuba for the qualifying game against Mexico. Beat them, and we qualified for the Olympics, and the rest is history. So really, it's like everyone else. I went up through the U11, U13, U15, U18, and here we are today in 2024, sitting here shooting the crap with you guys and having some fun talking baseball.
Well, you know what? We're going to talk a lot of baseball, but one more thing. As a youngster, you were no stranger to the world of sports. I think not only did you end up coaching, which was kind of a dream of yours, you coached at the high school. You played for the high school hockey team. You played football as a kid. You played baseball. Why baseball? Why baseball?
I think at the time when I was going after my hockey career, talent-wise, I like to think I was good enough, but probably not. Size-wise, being 5'9" and 155, 160, trying out for the NHL team was not going to cut it. So, played rugby, enjoyed rugby, played badminton. I mean, every sport you can think of, I played. I really never had a goal to make the Major League Baseball. I never really thought that, being from the East Coast, Canada, 58,000 people. To work out that way, and I got a chance to go out and show what I could do, and I got lucky. I was at the right spot at the right time, and baseball fell in my lap, and we carried on from there. So Because honestly, I really never thought I'd have a chance to sign pro ball. Billy Saunders was a big help. He drove me to Montreal for a tryout camp in Montreal Expos back in 85 or 86, whatever it was. It kind of took off, and I was surprised. And then once I had a chance to sign pro, it was straightforward. Looking forward to working your ass off and getting to the point where you become the best player you can be. And it worked out for 19 years.
So you start your career with the Expos. Year 2, you're over in, well, I don't know if you can even call it year 2. You end up with the Red Sox in Major League Baseball. There was a gap between that. And I believe you played over in Japan. But you played for a team I've heard of, Chimichi Dragons.
Yeah, that's Mr. Baseball. It was.
How did that come about?
Mr. Baseball. It was funny because I was in Ottawa, and my wife just gave birth to our second daughter, Alicia, and I was playing in Ottawa, and I came home. Japan came over, and they were scouting for a third baseman, and I was like, I'm not going to Japan, man. I'm still going to make the major leagues and do well over here. And God knows I can't play third. So they came and scouted the game, and I ended up hitting like 2 home runs and 3 doubles, and they offered me a contract. I'm like, hell yeah, I'll go to Japan and play. At that time, I'll be honest, it was all about the money, going over and support my wife and my 2 daughters at the time. Went over there. I had a blast. I really did. I mean, I had a great time over there. Watch these guys hit home runs, come across home plate, get a panda bear and a carton of cigarettes. That's old school baseball right there. The only thing that would have been a little bit better was getting a shot of Screech from Newfoundland. But it was to me what it was a frustrating year because they don't have a lot of patience for the guys' unions, the Americans, Canadians, wherever you're from. I was there with Alonzo Powell, who was a star over there. He won the batting title over there.
He was the hitting coach for the Giants for a little bit.
Yeah, he was a good player at the time. So I think what happened was when I didn't have great success and they didn't have the patience for me I was sitting on the bench, it made me more hungry to get back and try to get back to the big leagues. Didn't know I was going to come back and go back to the Expos, get traded to the Red Sox and go to Double-A again, where the league I just won the batting title and MVP in. So that was kind of a setback, and it kind of pissed me off a little bit, but made me work harder, and again, it worked out well.
Matt, we had a guy named Jung-Hoo Lee came to us from Korea. There was a lot of talk, we signed him, and then people say we overpaid, and how tough it is from a guy to come from those leagues, Korea or Japan, overseas to play in Major League Baseball. Now, how did you adapt? How did the game differ when you got there?
I think for me when I got over there, I had to prove that I could hit every single pitch. Over here you kind of you kind of pick your poison of them, and they either hit fastball, curveball through a game. Over there, I mean, they threw that dang shuto, which to me I still don't understand what it is. I still really haven't made contact off it after all these years. But I think the biggest thing was that they play every game like it's a playoff game. Over here you kind of get you can have a bad stretch of 3 or 4 games. Over there you can't. You have a bad couple of games and you're doing the early BP. You're at home taking dry swings in front of a mirror. You're going to the ballpark the next day and taking extra batting practice, which is fine by me. I didn't care about that. But it's just like every single game was the most important game of the year, which it should be. But if you didn't succeed, the string got, going from here, and that string kept on going here, right? So it was like, well, I better start, swinging the bat well, and I didn't. And they don't have a lot of patience with a lot of players over there. That's the biggest thing I found. Baseball-wise, it's probably facing like, you got your normal top-of-the-line pitcher, and then everyone else is probably like a 3-4 in the major leagues at the time when I was there. Now, it's changed over the years, of course, but it was great. To me, it was more baseball and just another experience. I got to go to Disney World.
One of the nice. Hey, well, you had a lot of fun, and that was your biggest contract, one of the biggest. You made a lot of money over there. This interview probably like none other. We're starting with some warm-up questions, but they always all lead. We're going to get it out of the way right away. Jonathan Broxton, National League Championship Series. You've talked. You must get tired of it, but they say it's one of the biggest home runs in Phillies history. The T-shirt read, "In case of emergency, use stairs." They bring you off the bench. You hit it long into the night. Tell us about that memorable at bat, what you remember about it, the pitching performance, what pitches were thrown. It's just such a piece of baseball history for Canadian fans like us.
Well, it's I don't remember a whole lot. I don't remember it was a 3-1 count, fastball inside. No, it was one of those things where the biggest thing was Victorino hit the big home run, the 2-run home run off of the rookie pitcher Wade, hit a curveball to right field into our bullpen to tie it. Carlos Ruiz came up, Chooch came up the next at bat against Wade and hit a ball to left field. And then Joe Torre went to the mound and it just got really, really loud apparently. I didn't hear a thing. So it's one of those things where they open the door, Broxton comes running in, and I sat down, took a knee, and just watched them warm up. I wasn't praying by no means. I was in a good spot. I knew I was facing the best pitcher at the time, and besides Mariano Rivera, and I love that stuff. I had big shoulders. If I punched out, I punched out. If I hit a home run, I hit a home run. It was always tomorrow. So. It was really a weird feeling because when I stepped in the batter's box, and I don't think I had a bat for about 6 or 7 days. And I took the first pitch and it was a strike one. I said, that's not bad. It was probably, 90, 91, and it was like 95 or something. And it was slow motion, which is great for a hitter. But the pitch that set everything up was the next pitch he threw a slider back foot to a left-hander, which is, we swing at it all the time. I don't know why we think it looks good and then all of a sudden disappear. I took it really good, really well, and then all of a sudden he nibbled 1-1. He made it 2-1. Then he nibbled 2-1 to make it 3-1. Then he tried to go back out there again, and Russell Martin gave the old, sinker ball, get outside the corner, and he just overthrew it. And he pulled it in inner half, and I always call that the oh-no zone for left-handers, because usually when you throw the pitchers, you're saying oh no. And I just hit the snot out of it. I mean, it was one of those ones where just you connect on something and it's gone. I was a little pissed because I thought it was going out of the stadium, but I guess I don't have that much power. It was just one of those things where it lined up. He could throw that pitch again to me tomorrow, the next day or whatever, and I might have missed it, but it just happened to connect it and hit it for a home run and get a big home run and change the momentum. And, we went home and won the series. So.
And as Giant fans,
I don't remember too much of it.
As Giants fans, you want to talk about feeling good? Anything bad that can happen to Dodger Blue, we're on board. I tell you what, unfortunately, I was overseas at the time, so I didn't get to see it until a little bit later because we had AFN over there, so it was always live. But you said something that's quite interesting, and it always just boggles me as just a fan. You said you hadn't taken an at-bat in about 6 to 7 days. Speak to how hard it is to come off the bench, especially in a moment like that, and be able to just get the job done. I mean, that is just to be able to do that. I mean, unfortunately, the Giants have done that to a couple of young kids. I mean, it's already difficult enough, I would think, for veterans to come off. But just speak to how hard that is coming off the bench cold.
Well, it's going to sound weird. To me, it wasn't hard. Like, because I really accepted my role. Like, I knew my days in Oakland, I was an everyday player. I knew once I left Oakland and went to the Chicago Cubs, I was becoming a bench player. And I knew all of a sudden I started having success pinch hitting quietly. And then it just came out to the point where I told coaches, I said, what, give me 162 and we'll go from there.
Yep.
And I really accepted my job. And that's what I tell people is that it doesn't matter if you're playing a position or you're batting in a certain order, if you're starting or not starting. If you accept your role, it makes it a lot easier, first of all. And I also had a great approach of, in my mind, I never expected to get a hit. The only thing I told myself was if I could keep my approach and try not to help him out as much as possible and keep my approach in the batter's box, and he makes a mistake, good things will happen. So for me, that was a little different. Yeah, I tried to hit home runs, pinch hitting, but I didn't ever expect to get a hit because I knew it was one of the hardest things to do, that and closing the game out. I think pinch hitting's harder than closing. But anyway, it's so it just happened it worked out well. I mean, I had a good career pinch hitting. I did a lot of it. I had a lot of patience, and I think a lot of it has to do with my mentality of being relaxed and never getting worked up and nervous over certain things. If I strike out, so what? Gotcha. I was expected to fail anyway. I hit a home run, it's a bonus. I hit a single. Well, I clogged the bases. I got pinch ran for. So why do I want to hit a single? That was my approach. That was my approach of how I took it.
So it's more mental than anything. It sounds like you had some pretty good conversation. Communication sounds like it's key. Being able to, talking to your respective club, hey, I can excel at this role. I'm good with it. And as long as you have that communication, it sounds like, it sets you up, for success mentally to be able to go up there and take that approach that you want.
Oh, absolutely. And the communication with, Charlie Emanuel was great. I mean, he was a bench player at times. And, I just said, don't worry about getting me at bats. Like I changed my whole stance to where I could sit on the bench for 2 to 3 weeks and not lose my timing.
Interesting.
Wider stance, a little rock, and just, throw the hands to the ball. And that's what I worked on when I was with Toronto. Even when I was getting 300 at bats a year, I mean, you might go, 3 or 4 games without getting at bats. And my timing was always good. But for me, I was very strong. And that's one thing I preach with all the kids around in the area and all the kids I talk through wherever I go is the mental side is the most important thing. Because all of a sudden, if I get ticked off and show that I'm beat, like I get in there and start shaking my head or the pitcher's shaking his head. Once I see that pitcher shaking his head, he's done.
You got him.
I'm shaking my head, I'm done. So it's that point where it's like the mental side of it has to be very strong in what you do. And to me, I had a very strong mental side of baseball. So what about
fantastic?
I guess you had to. You played for 12 teams in 19 years, man. You travel with a suitcase.
Yeah, it was. Well, that's why you have wife and 3 kids. Everywhere you go, they buy you a new suitcase. It didn't matter. So, but it was. I mean, a lot of people said, was it hard traveling? No, I played baseball for a living. That was my job. There was 19 years of joy of playing Major League Baseball, and that's not including 6 or 7 years in winter ball, and that doesn't include the 5 or 6 or 7 years I spent in the minor leagues and the 1 year over in Japan. I enjoyed it. When I walked away, I was extremely happy. I was tired, and I knew I was done, and my job was over with.
Mm-hmm. With joy, there was sorrow. I had read recently. You conducted, you were part of an interview, and that interview never made the air. Harry Callis called your last home run the voice, legendary voice of the Phillies.
Yeah.
I grew up, he was the voice of NFL films, unmistakable voice. It was just made for the media. He called your last game, then he passed away in the press box the next day. A lot of joy, though. You get called up. I remember when you get called up, you were playing in Edmonton, I believe. You get called up to play in Oakland. You were part of a 4-man outfield. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. There was you.
Mm-hmm.
Run, Ricky, run. You got Ricky Henderson. You got Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire. Boy, you'd made it when you were in that foursome right there.
Wow.
Well, I mean, McGuire was playing first, and Canseco was playing some outfield and some DH. It was when I got called up, it was pretty sweet. Like you're playing with guys that, and I grew up. Honestly, I grew up as a Red Sox fan and an Oakland A's fan because that's what in New Brunswick we had 3 stations and way back in the day, and we got Red Sox and Oakland for some reason. So it was nice. I mean, I had some good stories. Watching those guys play the way they approach the game actually helped me out a lot. The way they set on certain pitches for hitting for power. I wasn't a power guy early in my career. I was I can't believe I'm saying this. I was a skinny guy, hit the ball to left field and run. And I watched how they approached the game. Canseco was a little different because he was a max effort guy. McGuire was more forearms, finish, using the lines, all that great stuff that we talked about hitting. So it was quite. I mean, we had Geronimo Barroa was there as well. Terry Steinbach. I mean, there was a good team.
I think maybe our third base coach Eric might have been there at the time.
Who's that?
Who is he's asking?
Oh no, our third base coach Eric. I think he might have been there at the time playing with Matt, wasn't he?
Matt Williams. I don't think so.
No,
was he? No, I don't think so.
He was later.
Yeah, he was afterwards, was he? All right.
Yeah.
He was after.
Well,
actually,
you played.
I think he was.
You played the 12. You played with 12 teams. That in itself is a major league record. You also coached.
Yep.
And Philly in 17, San Diego 18. You were in the broadcast booth for a couple of years, so you're doing what we do. Did you have an interest in that post-career, or how did that fall into your lap?
Well, I did. I mean, it was when I went to Nesson and did a pregame, postgame with Peter Gammons, myself, and Jim Rice were there. And Jim Rice was my hitting coach when I was with the Red Sox. It was just, I loved it. I love talking baseball. I speak my mind. Like I tell the truth. I don't sit here and say, yeah, okay, we're sponsored by Sportsnet, so I can't say anything. BS. I'm speaking my mind. Maybe that's why I don't broadcast anymore. But it's just, when I went to when I went to the Phillies and did my interview, things went well in the interview. It was Jamie Moyer and I the first year we did it together. We've never broadcast games before. So, and you guys know, you have to get used to your listeners. And maybe we talked too much the first year, which I understand because Phillies, with HK, I mean, there was a lot of guys that they didn't talk a lot during the games. They wanted to hear the game. They brought out some big points. So we learned that after the first year. Then second year was better. Third year was better. And then John Kruk decided to come back, and I actually left the broadcast booth and went down and took over as the head coach for the Phillies the following year. So I kind of got hired from the booth to the field, and I had a blast. I mean, that was awesome. Coach, I liked coaching. Coaching's tough, though. I'm not gonna lie, coaching is tough. It is. You sit in meetings and you hear some cutthroat stuff. Like, I can't imagine what they said to me towards the end of my career. What they're talking about. But it's interesting stuff of certain guys. What they want you to do, get this guy to do this a certain way. Okay, well, I'm going to need more in the spring training to get it done. There's certain things that they want, and they have a timetable, and this is what we want, and that's when all of a sudden that's when the ball in the air started. The launch angle started that back then. So whatever. So I'm not even going to talk about analytics because it sucks.
And that's the thing that comes up in our show, Eric. Analytics.
I love it.
Our team is driven by analytics. There's no such thing as small ball. Do you think the game? I mean, that's what we see as Giants fans here, Matt, is the game is driven by the long ball now.
It's do or die.
Mm-hmm.
Take pride in striking out. When I struck out, I was embarrassed. And I did it 1,000 times. I'm not saying I was the greatest contact hitter, but I took pride in striking out thinking, God, that sucked. If I would have put that ball in play, if I would have had 1,000 at bats, you cut that in a quarter and put that ball in play, think of how many more hits you get, how many more maybe home runs, RBIs, runs scored, which to me is the most important, stats in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we kind of thought about it. Now, with StatCast now, it's some genius decided to say, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to worry about the launch angle. Well, the launch angle back in the day was drive a ball in the gap. Mm-hmm. Exit velocity, all that was hit the ball hard. In the gap, they become home runs. But nowadays, you got to think about getting your elbow in your slot, which Babe Ruth probably had, and people before him were getting their elbow in the slot. Why do you got to think about it? And don't get me going, because I know you guys don't have that long of a show. You don't have 3 or 4 hours, because I could blow up stuff about hitting and stuff like that, the analytics. But some of it I don't mind. With the shifts and stuff, I don't mind. And it kills me when people say, well, just have him, hit the ball to left field and beat the shift. Really? You're going to tell Ryan Howard that I want you to hit the ball to left field and beat the shift? That's just a waste of paying him $25 or $30 million to hit flare singles, for God's sakes. I'll tell you that the best team I ever played on for small ball, and what year did the Giants win the World Series last?
2014.
Great. And who did they beat out the last game of the year to get there?
Kansas City.
To get to the playoffs.
No, to get to the playoffs. They played. It was Washington.
Padres. They beat us. Remember, we went in
San Diego.
Oh, in 2010. That was in 2010, right?
2010, right? I'm sorry, right.
No worries.
So 2010, we had Adrian Gonzalez, and then we had, and no disrespect to the players, we had no one. Like, we had Craig Ludwig and myself and the Harrison brothers and Eckstein, and we had a bunch of scrappers. Mm-hmm. And we were picked that year to be second, the worst team in baseball in front of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I think you guys ended up beating us on Sunday. That knocked us out of the playoffs. You guys won the World Series that year.
Yeah.
Well, if we would have won, we would have had to go play Atlanta in a playoff game. That was a team where we did everything small ball. We got a man on first base, we did hit and runs. We had a man on second base, we sacrificed getting the ball to second base or to the right side. Try to drive them in, but advance them and rely on your teammate behind you. Now you get a check mark. Man on second base. Now I'm starting to get heated. Man on second base, and you get a fastball. And if I'm a left-handed hitter, I pop up the left field, I get a check mark because I attacked the fastball. Oh, congratulations. I attacked the fastball, but I didn't get the guy over and didn't do my job. That's what pisses me off about baseball nowadays.
Interesting.
I told you I speak I speak the truth. That's why I'll probably never ever coach again. I don't really care. I think that analytics has hurt the game at some, and I think it's helped some. I just think that small ball has to come back, and it helps you win ball games, which is the key. You can do your job, and the guy behind you picks you up. Instead, guys, now we're getting the bases loaded, trying to get 4 RBIs. What happens? They walk away with a goose egg.
Right.
That's the difference.
You know, guys, I had some notes here, but I'm going to go to one of the questions I was going to ask to close it because it's quite fitting now. And that is some of the changes that you've seen to the game. Matt, since you finished playing as a professional player, you got the pitch clock, for example.
Yep.
Other changes. What do you think of what they're doing to the game? A game that was fine for 100 some years, and now all of a sudden they're making changes.
The game, there was nothing wrong with the game before. What I will say what's wrong with the game now, and this is not wrong with the game, is I understand. I'm old school. I love the knockdown pitch. I love if you disrespect the other team or the pitcher on the mound, you're getting one in the ribs. That's old school. I respect. I didn't like pitchers, but I respected them. Now I think because the salaries are so high that you have to have the Posey rule at home plate. You have to give the lane to slide because you don't want guys getting hurt. I understand that.
Okay.
Chase Utley play at second base where he broke the guy's leg from the New York Mets when he was with the Dodgers. I get that. Like that's going a little overboard. I think it was Morrison or something who hit Posey at home plate and he went over.
Cousins, right?
So there's certain rules that I understand. The pitch clock. The only time a pitch clock should be allowed is when the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox are playing because they take 5-hour games.
Yeah.
I don't like the automatic strike zone with umpires coming in. I don't like the box in front of home plate. Is it in front of home plate? Is it behind home plate? Like where is that box that shows the pitch?
Oh yeah, you can't tell the depth because it's 2-dimensional.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a few things that listen, I still love the game. It's still the second greatest game in the world behind hockey. And I don't watch baseball anymore. I actually sat down and watched the Little League World Series game today, and I actually enjoyed watching that.
Oh, nice.
I bet you in 4 years I've watched maybe 1.5 games in 4 years. Just because I don't like the antics I don't like showboating.
Okay.
That's me. Listen, fans love it. If fans love it, congratulations. But I think the true baseball people, and I talked to a lot of guys that I've played with, over 700 ball players in my life. And I like to see someone try to do that to Pedro Martinez or Roger Clemens. What would have happened?
Right.
Like flip your bat and do a moonwalk to first base. Let's see what happens your next at bat. But
Professional hitter Matt Stairs. Professional hitter Matt Stairs. Who did you love to play with, first of all? Who were some of those guys that you loved going to battle with? And what about pitchers? Who are the guys that either you loved hitting against them, you were just, I don't care whether I strike out or hit a home run. It's just the challenge, the thrill of the event. And who are the guys you just didn't want it? Like, I'm asking you all of the above.
No, that's good. That's great. I think with baseball-wise, my first guy that really taught me the ropes was Mike McFarland. He was a catcher with the Kansas City Royals. He was with the Boston Red Sox. He told me to be seen, not heard. I'm like, dude, I'm Canadian, man. What do you mean? I talk to everybody. And I understood what he mean. Be seen, so that they see you doing your work, but don't speak out of turn and just watch and learn. So that's really the biggest thing that I did is I learned from Mike McFarland about how you study the game and understand him and become a student of the game. The guy I'd go to battle with would be Jason Giambi.
Mm.
in a heartbeat. John and I were good friends. The way he treated my daughters when I was around, and my wife, the respect he gave us. He'd be a guy that I'd go to battle with him. Jason Worth became a really good friend with the Philadelphia Phillies. Besides that, I mean, everyone else, the only guy would be A-Rod. I wouldn't take out to dinner, but besides that, everyone else. The pitcher I didn't mind facing, Ryan Dempster. I didn't mind facing him. Seemed like I always hit a home run off him. Bob Walcott, I hit well. Tim Wakefield, I hit well against. I saw an interesting stat the other day that I've actually faced 1,002 pitchers in my life in the big league.
Wow.
I was kind of surprised because I was actually. I don't ever pull up stuff. Pull up where I struggled. The Martinez, I think I had 2. Didn't.
A little bit choppy, no worries.
Oh,
He'll come back. He'll come right back. He'll come right back.
Arthur Rose gave me fits. He threw from behind his ear and behind that big earring. And I tell people I was like 0 for 18 against him. And people are like, that's not bad. I said, no, I was 0 for 18 years.
That's pretty good.
In the minor leagues when he was with Bowie, whatever hell you call it, the Baltimore Orioles with the Harrisburg Senators. And in back-to-back games, he punched me out 7 times. And I'm like, God. And he got to the point where he was telling me what was coming. Fastball, curveball. I'd still pop up an elevator shaft, or I'd hit a ground ball to first. And I always tell people, baseball, you have to have a short memory. So finally, my last time I ever faced him was in Seattle. And he threw me a fastball. I say I hit I drove it to left. I got jammed to left field for a base hit. I had a pen in my back pocket and called time and asked him to sign the baseball, and he was pissed. So at that point, I told people, I said, you know what? It's short memory. I am 1 from my last 1 against him. I own him. He can have the other 18 years of my last at bat. I got a hit. So
that is great.
Like Randy Johnson, I didn't mind facing.
Interesting.
Because we had a great, like, Art Howe was our manager in Oakland, and he put all the left-handers against Randy Johnson because Randy Johnson's wipeout pitch is that back foot slider to right-hander. So as lefters, all we thought about the lefties was, let's just think pull. Look middle, in, think pull Randy Johnson. Anything away you give to him, it's usually a ball. And you usually threw that slider, you couldn't throw it for a strike. He'd get ticked off, and he'd overthrow, and he'd throw a fastball inside. And I wouldn't say we crushed him, but I mean, I didn't mind facing him, the big unit, because he was the top pitcher at the time, right? And that's who you want to face. Pedro Martinez, no, not so much.
What about stadium? You played in them all, especially as the home guy. But is there a ballpark you like to suit up in?
PNC, Pittsburgh. It just, now me being a pull hitter, let me rephrase that. Whenever you have a major league uniform on, all ballparks are great to play in. You know what I mean? That's really, the one I looked forward to the most. I mean, there's a few of them. I mean, at the old Baltimore, before they built that hotel in left center, way out, the ball used to carry well. The old Minnesota ballpark, where they had the Glad bag, that was a launching pad. Yeah.
What about domes? Was there a difference in the dome for you?
No, it didn't matter. Because I think if you hit it, you hit it. And if you don't, you don't. I mean, playing at old Giant Stadium, Candlestick, you have no idea what was going to happen there. You hit a ball to left center, and it might go out to right center. So, but honestly,
window stick.
Yeah, really. But I think PNC was probably in Pittsburgh was one of the nicest stadiums, and one that I always shot for the river.
Yeah, did you ever hit it in Allegheny? Did you ever hit it out there?
No, I hit the friggin' top of the part and it bounced in a few times, but I missed it by about 6 inches. I know that's what she said, but I mean that's to me, being a pull hitter, I hated Wrigley Field. Wrigley Field, I don't hate it for the stadium ballpark. I hate trying to hit Wrigley Field because there's always a crosswind from right to left. And I would hit a ball to right center, and the wind would get it, and then Sammy Sosa would get up next, and he'd hit one 30 rows deep, same spot I hit it. And I'm like, okay. maybe he's used a cork bat. Who knows? So, but that was probably the only ballpark I did not like to hit in.
Well, you're known as professional hitter. If you're just joining us, guys, on Giant Sports Talk Live, a special edition. Matt Stairs is our guest. Matt, there's so many questions. We're just getting started. If you got the time, I wanted to ask you about the Olympics. We just wrapped up the Summer Olympics. There's going to be baseball in the next Olympics. You played in the Olympics, and I've heard so many athletes say it's bigger than my career, representing my country as a Canadian. Did the Olympics mean anything to you appearing in the 88 Seoul Games?
It meant everything, honestly. And again, that comes back to the point where one of my goals was to play in the Olympics. Of course, I wanted to be a hockey player, but that didn't work out, of course. And then when I had an opportunity to make the Olympic team, that was an honor, to come in there and, wear your Canadian flag, your jacket, you're going out, you're representing Canada. Even though we were a demonstration sport, it was just something special walking out that opening ceremony. I mean, it really was. It kind of gives you goosebumps, or does give you goosebumps, thinking about, you're walking out with all these, at the time, these amazing amateur athletes. We had no pro athletes back in the day. So all these amazing athletes that this might be the highest they ever get a chance to play was pretty sweet. Of course, we played against Team USA that had Jim Abbott and Ben. I forget what his name was. They had a good team, and we had like Real Cormier. We had a good team as well, and we beat the United States. Everyone said we beat Jim Abbott. No, he threw 5 innings, a perfect ball against us. We beat the bullpen, so it was a good time. It was nice. That was when Ben Johnson, at the time, we considered him a Canadian, and then all of a sudden he got caught for steroids, and we said no, he's not from Canada.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but for me, it was what was really cool. And the United States didn't stay in the same place we did. They stayed on their own, I think, because that was when over in Seoul, Korea, that's when they had all the rioting going on.
That's right.
Set time from 12 until 4, and then 4:01 they had to clean up, which is really interesting. But it was to me it was remarkable walking out in that, and it really was. All those athletes, and I watched as much as I could on here, and I'll watch every hockey game in the Olympics. So it's to represent your country. It's pretty special. I wouldn't say it's a bigger deal than playing the Major League Baseballs for 19 years, because it's a different comparison. I always found that when I played for Major League Baseball, I was representing, my program, the organization, my family in New Brunswick. There wasn't very many of us Canadians playing in Major League Baseball at the time. But when you do walk out and see all those athletes at the Olympics, it's pretty sweet.
That's awesome. We got a question out here from the chat. We got a few of them. Mo G, dedicated listener here, says, "What advice would you give under 17? Is that under? Is that U17?
Under 17.
Under 17 baseball player. Are you better off playing pro ball or playing in college?"
I mean, that's a great question, and I guess it depends on where you're going for your college. If you're going to a college where you're going to get a chance to play, to me, I'm always thinking I'm going to go pro, and nothing against the college side of it, but the pro ball is you get a lot more baseball. You usually have higher quality of coaching, better opportunity to play more. But again, it's college wasn't for me. Hell, I quit high school and went to and played ball.
Nice.
So that's easy for me to say. I mean, I didn't get one of my classes. I said, you know what, I'm leaving. I went to out west. So, I think for college baseball is a great opportunity as long as you're not sitting there for a year and not playing a whole lot.
Right.
It's to me, it's a waste of a year. You can go play pro and play 146 games and play your spring training games to get a lot of baseball.
Well, you said when you played, you would grip it and rip it, and you call it as you see it. So now that you're retired, you sat back for a few years. I asked you about the rule changes earlier.
Yep.
What do you think, Matt, about the money in baseball now the players make?
Oh, God, I wish I could hit a fastball still. It's
like when you were sitting back in New Brunswick this offseason and then, the rumors were flying around. Tawny's on the plane. He's on the way to Toronto.
Yeah.
And then you see signs for like, and let's leave out the deferral of the money. That was an oddball contract. But when you see a guy's getting something like $800 or $600 million, what do you think of that as a former player and as a fan of the game?
I think you're as a player, as an ex-player, you're happy for them. You're jealous as well. I think as a fan, see, again, I'm not just saying this because I'm on with you guys or whoever I talk to. Unfortunately, the fans suffer. Those big contracts, fans suffer. Like to go to a ball game nowadays with a family of 5, you need a second mortgage, honestly.
Oh, it's crazy.
And it's ridiculous the way the price is. Now, I understand a lot of TV rights are paying for contracts. You know, if say the Giants go out and sign a $2 billion 10-year deal with whoever they're with the TV, a lot of that money goes towards contracts. So, and it's just, again, if the contracts weren't so big, then we'd have old school baseball again. So
good point.
Either both ways, I kind of look at, I'm happy for the players. Congratulations. Are you worth it? No. Are you worth making $50-60 million a year? No. Are you entertaining and drawing fans in and making a profit for organizations? Yes. And that's really where they're getting paid for. That's my opinion.
There you go.
Guys are making $10 million a year, and I'm not going to say who I'm talking about, but this guy makes $10 million a year. And his numbers last year before he signed were gross. Like they were bad. Like his OPS was it was like 620 or 630. And I'm like, seriously, you're giving this guy $10 million because he played defense? So that's my point. It's like where do you draw the line of a player that's not as good as he used to be? Like, how do you give a guy $10 million for having those type of numbers compared to whatever. That's just how I am. I look at it. And I like how Japan used to be. Japan used to be, if you played well, you get a raise. If you sucked, well, you drop backwards.
Interesting. So basically, playing up to expectation. If you're doing good, you get paid. If you're doing bad, it's reflected as well. Yeah, why not?
How much do you think Baez would be making?
Oh yeah.
Like, how about that?
He'd be paying the club. He'd be paying the club.
He'd probably retire because he'd go broke. How much? Like, that's a bad contract.
That's a bad contract.
It is, and for a player that peaked very well at the right time, and it's the same as the contract that Anaheim has, Rendon. Unfortunately, he can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
Matt Starr's our guest. Matt, one of the other questions we had to dive into on this show, and that is about how frustrating it must be for a ball player like yourself. You sign, you're making your money. You said it's a job, so you got to show up and work. But when you're playing for an organization that has no interest in winning, like at the moment, we've just wrapped up last weekend. A week ago today, I believe, Eric, was our final game in what we call the Bay Bridge Series. San Francisco versus Oakland. Fans will never see that again. The Oakland A's are going to go play in a small, tiny. They don't even know where they're like. They don't know what the direction of that team is. Where they're at, Las Vegas in a couple of years. Yeah. Who wants them? And you got an owner over there selling tickets for $1.27 to get you in the door. So you'll buy about 8 beer. And being from Canada, that's fine for me. But what do you think of the whole situation in Oakland as a former player there? And you played with some good ball players there. What do you think of the whole mess over there?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, look, I feel bad because when people ask me when I went to the Baseball Hall of Fame and stuff, I wanted to go as an Oakland A's because they're the team that gave me the opportunity to play and really make a name for myself and put up some good numbers. I hate it. Like, I love the Bay Bridge Series. It was awesome. It was more of the players didn't get fired up to play against the Giants. The Giants, maybe they did. Like, I got fired up to watch Barry Bonds play. I get to run by him and talk smack to him, and the fans got into it. It was more of a media blow up, if anything.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna miss that. I really am. As far as the Coliseum goes, it's been through renovations and it's sad. Honestly, it really is because it's to me. If you would go out and spend the money, I still believe that Oakland would be a tremendous place to play. You're going to draw if you put a winning team out there. But if you're not going to spend the money, unfortunately, it kind of this is what happens, right? And again, I have a lot of respect for the Oakland A's. I don't know the new ownership. Honestly, I have no idea who owns it and who's part of it anymore. I only know, does Billy Beane still own part of it? Or do you sell his share? I don't
honestly,
know.
I don't know. Yeah. It's
just,
John. I know John Fisher's the main guy.
The main cog in that whole thing.
Why was $1.27 for tickets?
You can buy a season ticket package over there, a family of 4 for $400, which worked out to $1.27 with everything in for a game. So, Matt, I pay more to go watch the Royals back in the day over in Marysville.
Yeah, Marysville.
It just makes no sense as a business guy. I mean, I have my own businesses, and if that was the situation, I would have packed it in or sold it or moved on with my life. Then
it's so sad because the Coliseum
was sabotaging baseball.
The Coliseum used to be such a beautiful ballpark before they built Mount Davis. I love the ivy and the flowers. You could see the Berkeley Hills. It was a beautiful ballpark, and unfortunately, it just went down to tubes.
Well, I liked when they built the center field up because it allowed the ball to carry better.
Oh yeah, well there you go.
And it didn't take 380 feet to hit a ball out in right center. Now it's 368, and we played a lot of day games back in the day.
Yeah,
that's right.
We played a lot of day games, and people are like, "Oh, Oakland sucks to hit in." No, it doesn't. Oakland's a good place to hit as long as you get there at the right time and you do it in the daytime. It's a really good place.
Nice.
I lived there. I moved my family to the area when I was playing there. I love the area. It's not fair to the fans what's happening. That's where I feel the worst about. But the owner has to have a plan of what's going on.
Yeah.
Yes,
he's got to be playing dumb because you're not going to sell season tickets for $400 and make it up to $1.27 or whatever it is. There is a game plan behind that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because he's not. Hopefully, he's not a dumb person. So, but
earlier you mentioned. Oh no, I was going to say before we get to the question. Earlier you mentioned you had played in I call it Windlestick, but over at Candlestick Park, and you also played in Pac Bell when they built the new stadium.
Yep.
What were the other than wins? Was there any nuances between the two that other than wins? Like anything you remember batting in either of those two stadiums?
I found the Candlestick. I saw the ball better. Yeah, I saw it was a better batter's eye. I think I don't know what the hell the one's called now. Is there a new name for the one in San Francisco now?
Oracle.
Yeah, Oracle. I find that with that one for a left-handed hitter, your batter's eye is not big enough for left-handed hitters. So a lot of times you see the pitches coming out of the seats, the silver seats out in center field, which is a little tougher. That's just me. Like that's one certain thing I found. I know Giambi's thought of it as well.
Interesting.
So after that, it's all the same. I mean, again, right field's right there. Being a pull hitter, I didn't care as long as I didn't hit the right center, because God knows I wasn't lagging out a triple. So it was just.
When you stepped into the box there, were you trying to? Did you, in the back of your mind, were you like, "Oh, splash hit, splash
every
hit"?
Every time. But I did it properly though. I didn't try to pull everything like a bad swing. I tried to hit everything to right center and happen to get out front and try to pull it in that way. So my splashes were nice, but Barry Bonds he wore that crap out.
Eric, one of our regulars, our faithfuls. We're on 365 days a year here, so we talk a lot of baseball, Matt. We're passionate about it because we show up every day for this. One of our regulars, Eric, he has a question.
Yeah, Bogser says, Matt, when stepping up, and this is kind of taking a trip down memory lane here, when stepping up to the plate, what was the trash talk like between batter and catcher? Did you ever have a catcher get under your skin, or maybe you had him rolling with laughter?
I've never had a problem. I've never had a problem with a catcher where I wanted to pull the jersey over his head and beat the living crap out of him. The only guy that always messed with me when I step in the batter's box was Pudge Rodriguez.
Pudge.
And God love him. I would get in the batter's box and I would dig the hole for my left foot, and I would step back and look for the sign. And then when I put my foot back in, he would already cover my hole up. So I'm like, okay. So then all of a sudden I would take the bat and I would, probably hit him in the stomach or on the shin pad. And then the umpires always thought that we're ticked off at each other.
Right.
and it was just out of respect thing. I never had issues with any catchers. There was no smack talking. I did have a smack talker in Japan when I stepped in the batter's box, and this guy kept on saying to me, like, "Oh, a big guy's in power, yada yada yada," and I'm like, and this is during every pitch, and I'm getting pissed. I'm like, well, what do I do? So I went back and told my interpreter, and I asked Ochi-san, who was one of the big home run hitters in Japan. And I said, this guy won't talk. He's talking crap. What do I do? Do I punch him? Do I hit him with a bat? Like, what do you want me to do? And he told me all I had to do was turn around to him and tell him, shut up. Baseball's the same in Japan as it is in the United States and North America. Told him around and told him to shut up. And he goes, okay, now we play baseball.
Really?
Like, he was just trying to get under my skin. Like, and I played against him in the Olympics. I knew this guy so I knew him since '88, and he just nonstop talking mirrored out of his mouth, and I'm like, okay, this guy's pissing me off. Anyway, but no, I've never had issues with a catcher. Pudge was always the guy that was a clown.
Okay, to piggyback on that, did you ever have an issue with Angel Hernandez? He's retired now, so I get.
Angel, poor Angel. I've never had any issues with. I've only been kicked out of the game twice in my career, and Angel wasn't one of them. And Angel he was one of those guys earlier in his career. He wasn't that bad. Like, he really wasn't. And maybe we didn't know he was that bad because they didn't have the stupid square in front of home plate, the box, and you didn't have guys putting the next day, 97% strike calls, and he was great. Like, they're getting destroyed more than ball players. I never had issues with them. We knew if he was umpiring, or CB Buckner,
CB.
There was Stump Merrill, whatever his name was back. Like, there was some umpires you knew was going to be a big zone, and you knew some zones were going to be very small. So they all kind of played out the same, especially in the American League and National League. That was the biggest difference back when we all played in the American League and National League, is that your American League umpires called the high strike and low strike. The National League umpires called in and out.
East and West. Wow.
So that's how you knew your umpires. And you knew when we started playing against the National League teams, you would say, okay, we got the National League umpires. This is the zone. It's going to be wider, not high. So I never had an issue with Angel. Angel was I shouldn't say he's a friend of mine. He broke in the same time I did, and I knew him my whole career.
Wow.
Did you ever feel thrown at you? Did you ever have to stop yourself? Or maybe you did charge them out. Did you ever have a situation where you go, you talk with the camaraderie, if you will, with the catcher? Did you ever have a situation where you were like, all right, you little so-and-so, I'm coming out after you if you do that again?
No, I had an incident one time with a guy by the name of Bob Walcott. I think I had a couple of bats against him. He's with the Seattle Mariners, with the A's. He threw the first pitch at me, missed me, pissed me off. Threw the second pitch, missed me. Third pitch threw in there again. I stepped in the bucket and hit a home run to right field. And I didn't have to worry about going after him because Lou Piniella was furious at him.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't swinging the bat real well, and he took care of that. The only time I ever had, I never charged the mound in the big leagues. Minor leagues, different story. I never charged the mound when I was hit by a pitch in the minor leagues, but when my teammates were charged, I was the first guy off the bench to the mound.
Nice.
And that's just you're protecting your teammates, right? I get hit.
They're jumping over the bench. That's a hockey move. That's a hockey move, man.
Until you run into the bullpen and they kick your living crap out of you, then you feel like, okay, I got to stop going around the pile. I got to go through the pile. Yeah. But we had a good one. I've been in a lot of fights, but I've never charged. And when I got hit, I was more pissed at my teammate for hitting somebody on a stupid reason, because who was getting hit in our team in Oakland A's was either Jambi or I, or
right.
Jambi or Jaha. Well, they wouldn't hit Jaha because he was too big. So it seemed like
we could talk ball. We could talk ball for another couple hours. We'll have to get you on another show. But one thing you mentioned earlier, Hall of Fame. You were inducted into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. That was February 2015. What did that mean to you?
Honor. It really was. It was a great class. Awesome. We went up there in St. Mary's up in Ontario and did the golf tournament. And, you go up there and you do your speech, and Fergie Jenkins was the one passing you the jacket.
Wow.
So it was a great honor. It's just funny. I don't write anything out. I just get up there and wing it, and it was a great time. Again, it was an honor of, being in the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, even to be on the ballot for the Hall of Fame. Being on that ballot, didn't get any votes, but whatever. I knew I wouldn't, but it was an honor being on that.
Being on the vote, yeah.
Being in the Wall of Fame here in Canada, being in the Sports Baseball Hall of Fame, having a street named after you, all that stuff. It's you sit back going, shit, that's pretty cool. It really is, because I did it because I played baseball.
That's awesome. I got one more question here, Glenn. We're getting into playoff mode here pretty soon. People are getting a stretch. Ibrahim Khan, another great a member of ours, says, as a player that played as long as you did, was there ever a point in this season where you just knew your club did or didn't have it? Or did you always keep hope and feel like the team would make a run?
Well, I think when I was in Kansas City, I knew we didn't have a chance. We lost, I think, 19 in a row or 17 in a row. I knew that year was gone. I think, honestly, I think in 2009 with the Phillies, we won the World Series in 2008. 2009, we hit that little lull in the end of August. And we went from Philadelphia to Texas to play against Houston. Texas to play Houston, and we got destroyed. And after the 4 days, we kind of called a team meeting, and everyone got on the same page that we need to wake up. And all of a sudden, it clicked of the fingers, and we knew we were going to be good. Like we peaked the right time in September, and of course, we lost to the dang Yankees in the World Series that year. That was probably one of the years, even like in the Oakland years when we lost to the Yankees first round. I didn't have a great feeling about that series. I think we were kind of awe with the Yankees coming in town. We lost in Game 5. I think we made a mistake in right center on a fly ball, but it's really, most of the teams I've been on the playoffs with, we deserve to be there. And I really wasn't with any teams that we made a late run to get there. It was just that that Phillies team in 2009 where I kind of called a timeout. We had a meeting and said, listen, we're too good. And then we just kind of took off after that and played well and won the division, and again lost to the big bad Yankees.
Well, to piggyback off that question, Eric and I have debated probably 2 or 3 times in the last 2 weeks, Eric, and you'll remember this. A couple of our shows when we're on here talking Giants ball. Some days we like it, some days we don't. We haven't stuck a fork in one side of the fence. And that is, we still get to talk about the Giants' chances, albeit after this losing 2 of 3 to the Mariners. We're about done. That's it, kaput. But when you're in the old school baseball, and you've got to win your division, and you're 12 games out in August, your season's off. Do you like the fact more teams get in because there's still something for the players to play for? Obviously, something for the fans like us to do the little show here. We get to check the box score, check the wild card standings, or again, you said you were an old school guy. Do you like you win your division to get in? What do you like about it, or dislike?
I like having wild card teams. That's one thing I always thought that in baseball there wasn't enough teams making the playoffs back in old school baseball time. I love the fact that this is what I love. I love when a wild card team shocks the world and they beat the number 1 team in the division or whoever they're playing. Usually, if you look at the record, there's not that much of a difference. It really isn't. Like if you look at the numbers this year, I'm going to pull up my phone real quick. Like in the wild card, the Yankees, have 77 wins, and the Red Sox have 67 wins. It's not that big of a difference. It's 10 games or whatever, but they're going to play Minnesota Twins. Minnesota Twins have 72 wins. They have 5 less wins. So what I'm thinking is that now you have your top 6 teams from the American League and 6 top teams from the National League, which is perfect numbers. Anything more is too much. Yeah. But now you just can't sit back and go, okay, well, this is going to be a cakewalk because I'm playing against the 3rd wild card team, where sometimes they have almost as good a record as you do. It's just depending on the division they're playing in.
Yeah.
So
Hiroku asked a question too. We're running out of time here, but he came in late. I see the premise of his question. So I'll simply ask, Bobby Cox really changed the game of baseball when it came platooning. It's something that's done here in San Francisco that we just want to, smack ourselves in the head over. It's become almost a joke. And the platooning, actually, it coincides with Moneyball, the way they're running the team here, and a lot of teams in baseball. What do you think of platooning in baseball, Matt? Lefties, righties?
Honestly, I think, and you can use for me, remember Pyatt, Adam Pyatt? He was with the Oakland A's. Adam Pyatt was called up, and he took my at-bats. He got the at-bats versus left-handers, and I took the at-bats against right-handers. The bottom line is, if you have a left-hander who can hit lefties and righties, he should be in the lineup. If I hit 220, 230 against left-handers and crush right-handers, then if I have a right-handed hitter, again, team player, more power to you. It's more of an ego thing. Guys are becoming a platoon player. And as soon as I left Oakland in 2001, when I was with the Cubs, I knew I was a platoon player. I had no problems with it. You're going to tell me I'm going to get 300 at-bats against right-handers? Absolutely. 350, 400 against righties only. I don't have to worry about left-handers. Bring it on.
Cool. Gotcha. I think the issue we have with the Giants is it's hard for a player, especially with the younger players. It's how do you get established as a younger player if you're only seeing one side of the pitcher? Is it like if you're a young kid and you're a right-handed hitter, all you're going to see is lefties. You sit on the bench for a lot of the times as a young player. You're trying to get your feet underneath you. It's difficult, especially as fans. It's like you want to see what this kid can do.
Yep.
Now I understand. They're especially late in games. Late in games, that's what it's about. That's when the manager is supposed to be a manager and be able to get the right matchup. But when you got the first, say, 7 innings or so, again, it could vary depending on the situation in the game. You just like to see your guys out there, getting those at-bats. But no, I totally understand. You got a big moment just like you did you had in LA in 2008. I mean, my goodness, it's just sometimes it's difficult.
It is. It is. And it's difficult for young players because they want to establish themselves as a lefty, righty. I can hit lefties and righties. And if they're not given a chance to, then that's the issue. Then they start swinging or they start trying too hard against right-handers or left-handers. But again, it all comes down to where they punch in the numbers and StatCast decides to say, you know what, this guy has a less 20% chance of getting a hit than this guy does. That's the reason why guys aren't getting a chance.
Maybe when the season comes, maybe when the season comes to an end, we'll get you back on a show because I sure have enjoyed this. But before we go, maybe the next show we can dedicate a portion because we're not getting to nearly half of the questions that are coming in. But this is a good one. Again, we're trying to pick your brain when it comes to our ball club. The show is called Giant Sports Talk Live. And the question's from Mark. He says, how do players feel when a general manager doesn't improve the team at the deadline when the team could use that boost? And you feel like we're getting it done down here, but what the hell's going on upstairs?
Yeah. I can give you 2 words: pissed off.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
If you as a team and you feel like you're right on the edge, and you feel like if we make 1 or 2 pretty good moves, it just gives you a lot of confidence. It really does because you make that. It doesn't have to be the biggest move. But you make a couple of moves where it might strengthen your bench or it might strengthen the bullpen a little bit. God knows that most teams love to have strength in the bullpens. And you bring in that one arm and don't have to give up the kitchen sink to get them. There's just there's that different feeling in the locker room. And now all of a sudden you're bringing in a new guy in and there's more excitement because he's there. It just kind of makes the team looser. Like when I went to Detroit in September, I got traded from Texas to Detroit, wasn't going to be on the playoff roster. And I walk in, they had a beer can and a softball on the top of my locker. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like right away, they just took me in as the beer league player. And it just kind of, the morale just changes a little bit. And everyone gets a lot of extra energy from bringing somebody in. But when you don't make a move, then you're thinking, well, he doesn't believe in us. Whatever. And I won't say the other 2 words that I'm thinking of, but that's how it is. That's it. When you bring in players, It changes the mood in the locker room, and it gives you a lot of energy.
Did you get that in 2008? I don't know offhand. Did the Phillies make some moves at the trade deadline during that time?
This guy.
Oh, well, there it is. There it is.
I came over just before the deadline in August. So I don't know how they felt. I mean, we brought in Scott Air, myself, and I think there was one or two other guys, but I think now they're pretty happy that they brought me in when they did.
That's awesome. Well, there you go. You speak to it. That's awesome. And how did the clubhouse react when you showed up?
Oh, it was nice. I think they're probably more happy to have me there because I was hitting so many home runs against them that year. I hit them well that year in Philly, and they needed, like, I know Greg Dobbs was a pinch hitter, and to me, you can't just have one pinch hitter. You need two, preferably a righty and a lefty, but Greg Dobbs had some issues with the calf. And me coming in, I was actually supposed to start playing right field every day. And Jason Worth was struggling. I said, no. I said, I've been DHing all year and pinch hitting all year. I am not playing in the outfield. I'm too old for that. And I don't make enough money to play every day in the outfield. And they said, well, let's change Jason's worth. So real quick, I went with the hitting coach, and Jason and I changed his stance. And he went off. Like, he just started hitting home run after home run, driving the ball everywhere. I was like, thank God, because I didn't want to play the outfield anymore. So
I remember
Jason at the beginning of this interview. Any aspirations about returning to ball, hitting coach, broadcast, anything you want to get back into? Could they lure you back?
They could. I mean, it has to be like as a coach, you get hired to get fired. We all know that, right? And when I got fired from San Diego Padres, I asked them, where did I mess up? And they said, you didn't. And I signed a 2-year deal there. They fired me after the first year. And I said, if we had different players, it'd be a different story. We'll go different players, for God's sakes. Philadelphia, I think in Philadelphia, and I'll toot my own horn, I think I did a very good job in Philadelphia because I was the only hitting coach they had. I didn't have two hitting coaches, and I didn't have the new school swing. I'm old school. I teach whatever I teach. And I think you bump heads a lot with guys that have the new school of teaching because everyone gets sucked into that new swing. And I'm sitting there going, okay, well, I'm a hitting coach. And if he sucks, I'm going to get fired because of it. So whatever, it is what it is. I would get back into broadcasting. I would. I'd rather do a pregame, postgame where I can actually just speak the truth.
Yeah, there you go.
Instead of sitting up or have one of these sports talk live shows or
I can tell you, I worked with, or who did I work with? Mr. Gamble in Fredericton, which is in your backyard. I worked with the Fredericton Canadians. They said, you're paid to put the late Mr. Gamble. You're paid to put fannies in the seats when you're calling the game. I'm like, what the hell do I do when it's 8-1 in Providence? You're paid to put fannies in the seats. I'm like, this is, you put me in a tough situation where it's the second period, but there's still time to come back today. And that's tough, man. But doing the analysis pre and you're kind of breaking it down. I can see you do great at that.
I enjoy it, and I think this because I'm passionate about it, and I know a lot of stuff. I know a lot of stuff about defense. And people probably think, well, Stairsy, he has no idea about defense. I actually know a lot about defense. I studied the game. I learned a lot of the game. I would get back into being a hitting coach. I'd love to be a manager. Will it happen? Never. I think I was going to
ask you that too. What about managing? And is it just you got to get lucky, get a break, or
you have to know the right people?
Got to know. You got to know
the right
somebody.
people.
What is it?
You have to know the right people.
Yeah.
Because God knows in baseball, we hire the same people over and over. It's the same as in hockey. You hire a guy that did okay over here, and they got fired, then he gets picked up again. It's just, I don't know. It's like I'd love to be a bench coach. I'd love to be back into baseball coaching and stuff again, but it's just it's tough. It really is. There's a lot of hurdles you have to go over with. You have to be on board with all the StatCast.
Right.
And I think honestly, I'm not a guy that sits here and lie about it. I'm not going to tell a guy if I do my interview, I think the StatCast is the greatest thing ever. No, load up, what? It's ruining the game, and let's teach kids how to hit line drives first, and then teach them how to get the ball in the air. That's
so I'm guessing you're not a proponent of having iPads in the dugout instead of watching the game, right? Shouldn't they be watching the game? Look at Matt. He's ready to go, man.
So I just did an interview with up in Toronto, and I was live on there, and I was just, oh my God. The iPad to me is the biggest crock of mierda because if I'm sitting here if I just hit a home run and I come back and I got the iPad in front of me and I'm looking at it and I don't see what my partner did up, my buddy hitting wise, I don't know what he did.
Right.
Well, I'm a selfish, you know what?
Yeah.
Or if I come back and I look at, we talked about Angel. Angel missed a call and I'm watching it. Now I'm pissed off because I saw the strike and I'm mad at Angel again. So to me, it's
good point.
Again, I am very big on short memory.
Nice.
If I hit the home run, I know it was a good swing.
Right.
If I strike out, okay, let it go. Why let it bother me going back and oh my God! See, you have 3 or 4 guys looking around and they're showing guys and laughing
Right.
as your buddy's hitting or it just gets drilled by mistake, and that's where I would break every one of them.
Yeah,
I would destroy them. I would break them in a heartbeat for baseball and hockey.
Hey Matt, what kind of a? Let's look sprinkle a little fairy dust on here. Look into a crystal ball. If you were managing my club now, are you kind of a stand back manager, or are you like an Earl Weaver? Are you going to go out and fight for the team? Are you going to get thrown out of a few ball games?
Yeah, I'm not going to be who's the guy from the Cincinnati Reds? Bell. Bell. David Bell.
I can picture you being a little
David Bell.
Hobson out there.
Well, yeah, but I have to pick my poison because I can't get someone who's real tall because I'm going to be bumping him in the chest. The Billy Saunders, like Billy Saunders used to get the head going. I'd have to pick. I'd definitely pick. I would protect my players in a heartbeat, and I would protect them in the batter's box as well. And that might cross a lot of. It might tick off a lot of people, but my guy gets hit, your guy gets hit. That's me. That's how I am. I'm protecting my players on the strike zone. I'm protecting my players in the batter's box. I'm protecting everybody.
We like it. We like it a
That's
lot.
how it is.
Anything you want to add? Any questions, Eric?
Oh, I'm trying to, man. Let me go back even further. You talked a little bit about your Little League career. Who got you into baseball? Was there a family member? Was it something you saw on TV? Something you saw? What got you as a child? You know what? I think I like this game of baseball. Considering it's not really, is that a lot of is it baseball country up there, or is it more hockey?
Hockey.
Yeah,
it's more hockey. Honestly, it was a pastime. Nowadays we have hockey 24/7, 12 months a year. I run the program up here where I only take two months off of baseball now. So I actually run everything from January until probably 1st of November, December they have off. I'm the technical director of baseball up here. So, oversee about 740 kids, whatever. And, we run the spring training. When I started playing baseball, it was a pastime until hockey started.
Gotcha.
Our high school program, we played 8 games.
Wow. 8
games, then you have provincials. During the regular season, like I coached 15 UAAA last year, so it'll be U15 AAA, which is, whatever, Bantam. We played 35 or 36 games the whole summer.
Wow.
There's not a lot of baseball. Like it's, especially with rain up here, all you Americans just send us the rain on the East Coast and we get everything you guys get. So it's like, everyone's like, well, all we do is get rain. Well, blame the Americans. They send it to us. We send you the smoke, and you guys send us the down water. But and that's how it was. I mean, Billy Saunders, who was known for up here for Billy Saunders Buzzard, he's the one who drove me to tryouts in Montreal. He had some connections. I think he was a scout with the Yankees at the time. Yankees didn't sign me back in the day, supposedly because didn't have enough working visas. Because being a Canadian, you didn't get drafted. When I signed, you didn't get drafted. You signed as an international free agent.
Ooh, interesting.
So
okay.
Yeah, so I was signed as an international free agent with the Montreal Expos because they had enough visas. And then that's the biggest thing. What was hard was getting the visas for the Canadian players. There was a lot of talented players, and there still is a lot of talented players. But now they have an opportunity to go to the States. Now they're getting drafted. Where before, little Johnny's playing in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and he's playing 15 games a year. And now you got to take a scout's going to come up and see you maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the year. That was a difficult time back then. So that's why, honestly, I look back at my career going, very lucky. I was at the right spot at the right time, and so.
Yeah, and our baseball fans here, Matt, wouldn't understand this, but you would. It's how the game changed in the Maritimes when it came to hockey. You didn't get guys from Sydney, Prince Edward Island, Halifax getting to play junior hockey. But once the team expanded, you had the Halifax Mooseheads and the Cape Breton Screaming Eagles. You had the team you got the Moncton Wildcats down the highway from you. That's when it opened up the door. Yep. So I talked to Matt on the stairs on the phone the other day, Eric. I said, looking back when I was a kid, I was such a huge baseball fan. And I used to buy the cards in 75 and 76 and 77. And it was my eyes were opened up to baseball, the 77 All-Star game. I remember watching that with my dad, and I'll never forget that night. I was like, geez, I like this sport. And how players, I said to Matt, I said, you had Terry Poole and you had Ferguson Jenkins. You could name all the Canadian players on like 4 fingers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Nobody got an opportunity. Eric, you just didn't come from game. It was like coming from some Latin league.
Right.
Even they had a better opportunity, it seemed, didn't it, Matt?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. The Canadians are going to get another All-Star or Hall of Fame guy here with Joey Votto announcing his retirement. Yeah. He's definitely a first ballot guy. He is definitely going to get in.
Yeah. He had a good career.
He did.
Yeah, the door really opened up to guys like yourself, Larry Walker.
Well, it went from Kirk McCaskill to Larry Walker, and then once Larry Walker made it, and then I came shortly after he did. Then all of a sudden you just Justin Morneau and Joey Votto and Russell. It's just there was so many players that Jason Bay. I mean, there's Eric Gagne. I mean, there's just so many players that just started following. I always say Larry Walker opened the door.
Okay.
Now all of a sudden as a hitter, you go, I want to play against Larry. I want to be with him.
Nice.
I had a chance to play with him in the Expos organization, and to me, he was one of the few 5-tool players that ever played the game. So even though he played in Colorado, he was still hitting balls. God, that boy could hit.
Well, Eric, you know what? We got to get ready for our show tonight. It's supper time here, and Matt's like, geez, I got to go to bed soon. We got a 4-hour time difference, right, Matt?
Yeah, I already took a cat nap, so I'm good to go. Plus, I just finished the coffee, so we're good.
Hey, nice.
4-hour time difference. So you know what? This is ideal. I said to Matt, we got an afternoon game Sunday. This is great because you don't want to come on our show at 2 a.m.
Probably wouldn't. Honestly, I probably would say no.
So one other thing, we haven't even talked about this off the air. I'm sure you're going to come through for us, but I'm a huge collector. I wish we were doing it in my other studio, my Winnipeg studio. This is just my home in San Francisco. And I've got a ticket to your Major League Baseball debut in Montreal.
Oh, no kidding. Cincinnati?
I've got the ticket against Cincinnati Reds. Yes, I do.
No kidding. You remember what happened in that game?
Tell us. I'm sure you want to tell us.
Well, I had to face friggin' Rob Dibble. That was
fun.
Oh yeah. First pitch 99. I almost hit Oliver, was a catcher, and I took a big swing, and I almost hit him on throwing the ball back. That's how late it was. 0-2, Dibble throws one at my head about 100 and knocks me down. And I look out at him, and he's rubbing the ball, looking over his shoulder, laughing at me. I'm like, all right, you big, you know what? So anyway, he punched me out. Next at bat, I punched out. My next day, I pinched it against Dibble again. Same thing. 0-1, 0-2, knocked down, strikes me out. So I'm 0 for 2 with 2 knockdown, 2 Ks. So my third at bat, I finally faced Dibble again, day 3. That line went off his chest, and he's a big old barrel-chested man. He took it like a man, threw me out at first base. And then game 4, we had a big brawl. Game 5, we had a big brawl. So I was like right in hockey. Like, it was awesome. Like, it might have been my first 2 games while we were in the big leagues. We had brawls. So it was. And it was a great play at Cincinnati.
Rob Dibble, I'll never forget. We went to a game at Candlestick, and he came in, and we were in there in the right field bleachers, and you just hear that glove pop every time.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh my God. And he was just all elbows and knees and everything.
Well, he brought his hands above his head, and as he was kicking his leg up, he would kick his foot as loud as he could with his glove. I used to be able to do it. I can't do it. That's how he'd go up, he'd kick his foot, and he'd come up and he'd fire as hard as he could. And I remember where the guy from the Cubs bummed on that one day, and he ran down the line and picked it up to the guy and drilled him in the back. I'm like, that was just him. He was a nasty boy. Him,
He was a nasty boy.
Norm Charlton. I mean, it was
Norm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Randy Myers. I mean, Randy Myers walked in like he had big old cow. You know what? He'd
That
walk
was
in like
that was
this.
a good Reds team, though. Those were good Reds teams.
They were very good.
Do you remember that game I mentioned off the top of the show? I said you got called up to play for the Oakland A's. Remember, I think he had 7 RBIs. He had 7 RBIs in that game. He had a home run. He had 6 RBIs. You had a grand slam in your first game with Oakland, and you had a hit for 2 RBIs.
Yeah, well, that was so. My first game, I think with Oakland was we played in Vegas. I think we opened up the season in Vegas. It was my first game called back up after I was sent down.
Yeah.
California Angels. I hit a grand slam against. I forget who it was. I hit a grand slam in the first inning, and I hit a 2-run single in the first inning. So I had 6 RBIs in the first inning.
First inning here.
First inning.
And then, of course, the guy goes on to his 262 career average, 265 home runs, 12 teams, 19 seasons, a Canadian ball player. This is great. And appeared at the Olympics.
World Baseball Classic as well, too, right?
Yeah, 2 years of World Classic. Second one, I tried to forget about the second one because that was terrible. I went 0 for World Baseball that year. That was terrible.
Do you like that? Do you like that format? I think that's pretty cool.
I have no issues. As a hitter, I have no issues with it. The only thing I had an issue with is you couldn't go back to your own team. Once you left your team, like I was with the Kansas City Royals at the time, and I was kind of the older player trying to help the younger players out. Once I went to the camp with my Team Canada, I couldn't return back to the Royals camp. Like I wanted to do both. I wanted to play both of them. I wanted to keep on going, but you weren't allowed to. Once you leave, you had to stay with your Canada team, and that's fine. I mean, we were in Dunedin. We played. This might have been better than anything. We were playing in Dunedin, and we were getting ready to fly to I think either Toronto or Arizona. Well, we delayed the flight about 4 hours because we found this hockey rink out back of the ballpark. So we made a Stanley Cup out of all these beer cans. This great big, I mean, it was huge, like beer cans, and we put tinfoil around it. That was our Stanley Cup, and we had Joey Votto was the captain of one team. I was the captain of the other team. Of course, I said he had to be Skins because he had a better body than I did. And we played full contact. We played full contact hockey night in Canada going on. And there was 20 of us, 10 on 10, and we had 2 lines each. And we had fans come to watch this game. And they televised, they were filming it. I'm talking like Joey Votto going down along the boards, and I'm trying to put him over the boards. Like, that's how it was. It was probably
wow.
It was probably the most fun I've had in a long time playing a game of hockey because we were playing against a bunch of Canadians, and it was full do or die.
That's awesome.
So we got back on the plane and went over to Arizona, and I think it was Arizona we went to. That was good. It was fun. I mean, it's always nice when you get your fellow Canadians or your fellow Americans or whoever you're playing with, what country, all in one. Just think how much beer the Canadians can drink in the States. Because the beer in the States is a little weak. You got all those 20 Canadians down there.
Yeah.
My Lord.
Molson Canadian, what beer's all about. I just had an email here from Bruce Hallahan. Says, hope the interview went well. It certainly did. Appreciate him getting in touch with you.
Yeah, no worries.
Hope you'd come on with us again. And one of our sponsors, I didn't ask you this earlier, but I'm putting you on the spot now. We're hoping to get a few things signed. We are proud supporters of Signatures for Soldiers.
Oh, yes.
And they raise funds for guys who come back after combat, guys who've served overseas. So all of the players we get on board have signed a few things. We make the donation to them. All goes to fundraising. I told you I've got a few pieces, but none better than that ticket. I love showing people that ticket. And you're one of the few guys you play for the Blue Jays and the Expos.
Right.
But now,
Eric, the list goes on and on of accolades for this guy.
Yes.
But one thing I will correct you on one thing. I played for 13 organizations.
Well, yeah, technically. Yeah. You know why, Eric? I know why. Does Eric know why?
No.
He's American now.
Has to do with the Expos.
It has to do with the Expos and Washington Nationals.
Oh, okay.
Same franchise.
Okay. Same franchise because they moved down there. That's right.
You can't throw a curveball. You can throw the high heater by me, Matt. No curveballs today, buddy.
No.
Let's see if Montreal gets an expansion team. Would love to see that again.
So.
They won't.
They won't. No.
Unfortunately, I don't. Me personally, I don't think they will. I'd love to. I'd love to see it, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. I just don't.
Right.
Shame.
Hopefully we get you back on soon. Maybe after the A's have moved, we get some more questions from the guys in the peanut gallery here. And boy, I tell you what, this has been a great session with you. Longer than I thought. I hope you don't mind.
No, not a bit.
Awesome, Matt. Thank you.
Guys, thank you very much, Glenn, Eric. I appreciate it, bud.
All right.
No, we do appreciate you, buddy. I'll be in touch in a few days. Okay.
Sounds good. Go Montreal Canadiens.
There you go. Take care, Matt. Thanks again.
Our guest Matt Stairs today on Giant Sports Talk Live, and this just got it underway, guys. We're back. We're back in about an hour and a half. Eric, we're back with the Giants review.
Yes, man.
So this is a real show.
Glenn, I'll tell you what though. This was awesome. This was an awesome interview. Matt Stairs is a fantastic guy. He's old school. I love it. We'll have to get more into the old school stuff, but oh my God, that was
what I liked the most about him? Right off the top, I knew it was going to be good when he goes, "Oh, I'm just calling it like it is."
I'm just calling it like it is. I love it.
Spade is spade. It's what we like.
Absolutely.
And he talked about so many, when he starts talking about the players he played for and the managers, and I could see why he'd be a great analyst.
Oh, I could see him want to be a manager. You could see that fire in him. He loves the game of baseball. Thanks, Hiroku. Much appreciated, man. But hey,
this was a good
chat,
one.
you guys brought it with some great questions today. That's what I like to do. I want to involve you guys as much as I can. You ask some good questions, and we'll pull it up. We'll make sure we bring it up to any guests that we have, and we'll ask them the question. So, appreciate that, guys. God, that was so damn cool, man. Love it.
It really was, Eric. I've done a lot. I told you, when my hockey broadcasting career, 20 years, I interviewed them all. Yeah. But this guy, I grew up watching this guy. He had his ball cards. I watched him on TV. The fact I grew up in Canada, and he was one of the rare Canadian players, so you couldn't help but cheer for this guy. And then for him to have the success he had and be the all-time major league record holder for pinch hit. I don't even think we got into that enough. Career leader in pinch hit home runs with 23 in his career. You know what? It's almost a shame. This guy's he flies under the radar, Eric.
Yes, but I love it. I love what he brings, man. I love it. That's just awesome. When you think of baseball, right? And you talk to a baseball player, I get the sense he's a baseball player. I don't know how to really put it into words, but oh man, that was he didn't
sugarcoat things either. He's like, guys, I'm just going to tell you during this interview, I'm just going to tell you like it is.
Yep. I love it.
And that
was fantastic.
So you and I will be back on in about what time? Did you come up with a time yet, Eric?
Not yet. Let me
need to refuel.
We'll say
the tapeworm. Get ready to go. Another Pepsi. Yeah. Come on.
I know. Let's say between 9:30. How about that? Sound good?
Around 9:15, 9:20, somewhere there.
Somewhere in there. I'll put the show up. I'll just put the show up for 9:30, but we'll probably be on before that. How about that?
Check your YouTube listings. Again, thanks to Matt Stairs. Joined us from 4 time zones away. So he's getting late over there on the East Coast in New Brunswick, Canada. Thanks to him for joining us. We got to get more interviews. We got Ed Montague, the manager, or I should say, I keep calling him a manager. The umpire coming on hopefully soon. A couple other players up our sleeve too, Eric. So
that's awesome.
And I'm going to be talking to Matt. I'm going to be talking to Matt saying, who can you throw my way? You must have some connection. So I'll see you tonight. We'll talk Giants baseball, folks. They lost today. They lost the series in Seattle.
Not surprised. Not surprised.
I'm sure the guys will be fired up.
We'll be getting
into see you tonight, Eric.
All right, see you tonight, Glenn. And the chat, we'll see you tonight. We'll put it up for 9:30, but look at us for a little bit earlier than that. All right, see you tonight.
See you, Mom.
You've been watching Giant Sports Talk Live with Eric and Glenn, a Northern Lights Entertainment Broadcasting production.